to only those necessary to obtain or provide essential services or conduct essential activities. And we have the list of essential services that is detailed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and its latest guidance. We also are using what has been done by Mayor Jimenez down in Miami-Dade. You know, they've been operating on essential services now, I think, for a couple weeks, and I think they really did a good job and kind of showed us the way about how to do that. Both Jared Moskowitz and Scott Rivkees will be able to add if there are some essential services that we missed. You know, you'll be able to add that accordingly. So, you know, we've been working on this, devoting a lot of resources to Southeast Florida. Obviously, they've been operating under stringent measures now, going on, I think, a couple weeks. But this is another 30-day period. And, you know, at this point, I think even though there's a lot of places in Florida that have very low infection rates, it makes sense to make this move now. And, you know, I did consult with folks in the White House. I did speak with the president about it. He agreed with the approach of focusing on the hot spots, but at the same time, you know, he understood that this is another 30-day situation, and you got to just do what makes the most sense. So that order will be coming out momentarily. It will go into effect tomorrow night at midnight, and so people will have that and they can do it. As you look at some of the economic fallout that this virus is causing, you know, we need to do all we can in the state of Florida to mitigate that. One thing that we know today is that we do know that there's going to be some federal relief. That was not necessarily the case 2 weeks ago. We didn't know what was going to happen, so we're going to be working hard to make sure our citizens are able to access that. But I also want to figure out, okay, what can we do to lessen the economic damage? What can we do to help give some people more economic opportunity given the constraints we're going to be operating under for the next 30 days? And one of the things that struck me just going around the state the last few weeks is the traffic. There's not cars on the roads like there normally is. You look at some of the most busy thoroughfares, and it's sometimes it's a trickle. So I think that there's an opportunity to take advantage of that. We have roads that if you were to do a lot of construction on would cause massive traffic in normal situations. That may not be the case now, and so I have told the Secretary of Transportation here that they need to accelerate $2.1 billion in transportation projects. You have the ability to operate a long time during the day. You can close down more lanes because the traffic isn't what it was, and you can really start to make progress on some of these key projects. So just now, we are green lighting, and we're going to look to do more. The $864 million Howard Franklin Bridge project in the Tampa Bay area, accelerated by almost 4 weeks. The widening of Southern Boulevard in western Palm Beach County, accelerated by nearly 3 months. Miami-Dade, the I-395, I-95 design build project, $802 million reconstructive project being done in conjunction with the local expressway authority, accelerated by 4 weeks. And then finally, the project at Sand Lake near the heavy tourist area of International Drive and Universal Boulevard in Orlando, that will be accelerated by 4 to 6 weeks. And I know for those Floridians who have been in any of those areas that it would be a welcome change if we're able to accelerate and make those infrastructure improvements. So I'm excited. You know, it's sad that we're in this situation, but I'm glad we're able to make the most of it as it goes to some of our cases. We're now we've done, I think, 63 to 64,000 tests. You're going to see thousands and thousands of more come in. You know, as I look at kind of where we are, and obviously South Florida is just that number one. We've surged a lot of resources there. We'll continue to do it. You know, if we can continue the testing clip, and I think with these new rapid tests, that's going to help tremendously. Once we hit about 105,000 tests given our population, that puts us in that North Korea range where they tested 1 of every 200 folks. And once you get that or better, you have a really good sense of how this virus is moving, you know, in all the different communities. I mean, there are some places that you test more, you get more positives, but it's kind of the same percentage every time, 6% positive, 6%. There's others like Miami-Dade that as you test more, yeah, you get more, but you also get a higher percentage testing positive. So that suggests that it's circulating a little bit differently in that area. But I think that with with the ability to test more, That's going to be a huge priority. At this point, all the mitigation that we could do, is done. There's parts of the state where that's going to be tough medicine, but it's uniform, it's done, and now I think that the testing and really embracing as much as we can there is going to help provide us the information that we need to be able to make good decisions, not only about how to fight the virus, but how we can eventually get people back to work with the economy. So there's going to be an awful lot to do, but I would say the testing, I would say the protecting of the healthcare workforce, and I would say making sure that we have enough hospital capacity. Those are going to be three really, really important things in the weeks ahead. We're also in the executive order reiterating the previous guidance to our senior citizens that if you're 65 and older, or if you're somebody of any age that has a serious underlying medical condition, including things like diabetes, that you need to stay home and you need to avoid contact with folks who may have the virus. The health outcomes for that group are much worse if they contract the virus than any other groups. This has been something we've stressed from the beginning. The good news is, if you look at the infections, it is skewed more younger than it did, say, 3 weeks ago. And so I think a lot of seniors are heeding the call. I think they're doing what it takes, what they need to do to protect themselves. And ultimately, if the seniors and those who have health problems, if they're staying home, if they're protecting themselves, then I think we're going to be able to get through this okay. So that order will become forthcoming. We'll hopefully have some resolution on the cruise ship, and we're going to continue to be working really hard across the state, but particularly in southern Florida. And with that, I'll take a couple questions.
Governor, was it the Surgeon General's comments earlier today that shifted your thinking on a statewide stay-at-home order?
No, because I had decided on this, when the president did the 30-day extension, to me, that was, people aren't just going to go back to work. That's a national pause button. I had concerns about how some of that would affect different communities in Florida who have not been hit the same way, and I don't anticipate getting hit the same way as a place like Miami-Dade. But I wanted to see what their guidelines would actually say, and even the guidelines, they never actually said to do that. The Surgeon General, U.S. Surgeon General, never told me that that's what they were looking for. But I think that given that we're having a 30-day, I think that's a signal from the president that, look, this is what we're going to be fighting for a month. There's not going to be any kind of return to normalcy. People thought Easter, all that. That's not going to happen.